Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Paul Enos, CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association, filling in for Sam Shad. Today, we're going to be talking to Senator Angie Taylor. That's next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
Welcome to the Winnemucca Big R.
Hi, I'm John Walker. Welcome to Big R Lovelock.
Hi, I'm Rich Martin. Welcome to Fallon Big R.
My name is Braden. Welcome to Big R Fernley.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome to Big R Sparks.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain. And for over 90 years, the Nevada Trucking Association has been the voice for the men and women in the trucking industry. From Carson City to Washington, D.C., we advocate for policies to protect our trucking companies and keep commerce flowing. Because Nevada's and America's prosperity is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Paul Enos. We're here with Senator Angie Taylor of Senate District 15. So, Senator, tell me about your district. You know, who do you represent? Who are your constituents?
My district, and thank you for having me, Paul. I'm excited to be here. But first official thing since the session is over.
That's right.
I must like you. My district is very diverse. My district goes from Sun Valley, for those who are in the northern part of the state and understand that, working class, a lot of mobiles, trailers, manufactured housing, you know, some traditional housing as well. But Sun Valley began that you had to be in the mobile, and Sun Valley way back, right? So from there, right, and then you move over to where you have to come down by the university a little bit, go over some of Stead, cross Stead Boulevard, again, working class folks, you know, some warehousing people, because there are warehouses out there and so on. And then you keep going west, and then you get into Somerset, right? You get into that area, some of the newer northwest area, down into Collin, right? Then you start going up from an economic standpoint, right? Socioeconomic standpoint, past to Ranchera, out to Huthicker. So you think about the differences from a family standpoint, challenges that you have as a family member, even as a legislator, and the things that are really concerning over here when you're just busting your tail and you're working maybe 2 or 3 jobs, right? And then to this group over here that's much more affluent, right? Probably has a parent that stays at home. So very, very different.
How do you balance those different constituencies, you know, when you're at the legislature?
Well, you know, it's part of what's easy for me is we grew up really poor. So I grew up over in the working class, right? And so, and I haven't lived in Ranchera, right? Right.
So where'd you grow up?
I grew up in San Francisco until 8th grade.
Okay.
We call it the projects, in subsidized housing now because the town's better. Just really poor mom, single mom, 3 children. I was the youngest of 3. She was 20 by the time she had me. She and my dad, divorced really, really early. I don't remember us all being in the same home. So single mom, just, trying to make it, welfare, food stamps, the whole thing. To, then you go to college. My mom says, Angie, go to college, it would change your life. She's right? Get a couple, three degrees, get good jobs, own a company. And so I've had not all of this part, the really more affluent part, but I've had a pretty good view.
Sure.
And so it helps me because I have lived experience. And at least 2/3 of that piece. And then the other piece of it, because I haven't been, all the way, we never lived in manufactured housing or anything, but we certainly could have, right, is listening. Because they're going to say something different than they're going to say. Sometimes, though, they have the same concern.
Yeah.
For different reasons, but the same concern. Affordable housing, same concern, because they need a place to live, because they need their children to have a place to live, because their kid graduated from college and came back home because they can't afford a house.
And I mean, I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have, in this area right now. So, I mean, how do we do that? I mean, I know my kids, my son's 20, my daughter's going to be 18, and they both love Reno. They want to live in Reno, but they're going, I don't think we can afford a house here.
Right, I know. I mean, some work was done, right, in the legislature. Was enough work done? I'm going to say no, because we can't do enough work because it's still a major problem. We have a lot of building in our community. We do, and we see a lot of, multiplexes, right? On my way here, I saw the big apartment complex that they're building on the corner of over in that Neal Road area. Huge, right?
Yep.
And so, but my concern is how much of that is affordable housing? Is it more of what we have, and then they're really expensive luxury apartments, which is what most of them say, and so on. So you still have that family that they have 3 kids. They need a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment if they can get it, but they can't pay $2,800 a month.
I think as society, civilization is better when people can own things, when you have that ownership. Yep. I think people, there's that kind of skin in the game, and there's that pride of ownership.
A sense of pride.
And there's that generational wealth that, is created from owning that
Exactly.
home. How do we get there?
Well, we have to make home ownership not seem so far-fetched. I remember growing up, we grew up poor. My mom her dream was to be able to buy a house so we can live in it. And she was able to do that, right? She's 3 houses in now, right? She sell, get another one, sell, get, and that's really usually the way it works, right? As my mom gets older and so on, right? You've met my mom, that's my girl. One of the things that she's really proud of is that she has a home to leave her family. I mean, that's because most of the wealth in this country is passed down exactly generationally. So we make it easier. One, we make it easier for home ownership, but we also let people understand that it's attainable. There's a lot of pieces of it. One, it seems so far-fetched right now, interest rates, costs, and so on. We have to teach people how to manage their credit, because even if interest rates were 2 and 3% now, like they were during COVID, if your credit's really bad, if you're making poor decisions, right, how do we help people manage that? Money's going to be tight. It's certainly going to be tight. How do we make them understand? But there's still a way you can manage from a budget standpoint, and why that's important. You still won't have any extra. You won't have any more. But at least you're spending on the things that really help you, and then you're making better decisions. And that one late payment can really tank you. A lot of people don't know that one late payment can, So it's teaching people that, and part of it is it's not that far away. You can get there.
No, and I think that's one of the problems that I think, we have with, people not feeling good about, where they live, their community, their country is, not feeling like they can do that. You look at what's going on in New York City.
Yeah.
And hey, we might elect a socialist to the mayor of New York, but when you look at how difficult it is to get to that place where you can own a house and how much it costs to live, it kind of makes sense when you move in that direction.
Right. It's crazy when you think about it. Yeah, because then what happens is you get that kind of a reaction because it seems so far-fetched. There shouldn't be. There's a growing divide between the haves and the have-nots. Right. There just is. And so that makes it's much more distant, which means you have much more, I think, divergent views because people, they come from their lived experiences, right? And if you come from lived experience and you've never had, your family was never able to buy a home and all of that, then that's the perspective that you have, which can serve you, but that begins to be very different from you've always had.
What was it like growing up in the projects, and what has that kind of, how has that kind of framed, how you approach policy?
The thing that was interesting is while we were in it, I didn't know we were in it. I didn't know we were in it until we left. Right then, you're back in the neighborhood, and so it was called the ghetto back then. It's like I had no idea because Mom did such a great job of providing for us. There were times we didn't have. Mom was going to school to be a legal secretary, and it was her birthday. This is how poor we were, Paul. It was her birthday, and her classmates, which most of them were very affluent. Mom was in a work program that could pay for her to go to school, right? For her birthday, they got us groceries. What a birthday gift. I didn't realize how, oh my God, that was. I was just happy because we had brand name stuff. You know what I mean? Not the generic cereal, right? And I was a kid, I didn't know. But that's how poor we were. So there's a perspective of, I know what it's like to not have. But in that thing, I had a happy childhood. I loved it. I thought Mom did a great job with us in some really difficult circumstances. And so because I've had lived experience, it shaped me because sometimes you just have to be able to relate.
No, 100%.
You can't relate to everything, but sometimes you just have to be able to relate or just see yourself there. So that helps to frame all of the places and areas and levels and stages that I've lived in. It absolutely helps to frame my policy.
All right, we are talking with Senator Angie Taylor on Nevada Newsmakers, and we're going to be right back.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org. Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn. Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Paul Enos, and we're here talking with Senator Angie Taylor of Senate District 15. So let's talk about this last legislative session. This is your first session as a senator. You served one term in the assembly. So how'd you think this session went?
It probably depends upon perspective. There were 87 vetoes, so a lot of things didn't land the way, right, as expected. I think that there were times in the session when a bill would come your way, you're working on it, or you're considering it, or whatever. And as a committee chair, you have a different perspective too, right? And sometimes
so you're the chair
of education. Right, of the Senate Committee on Education, which I was honored to be. So that gives you a different perspective as well. So that depends upon what are you working on? Do you think this is going to go anywhere? One of the things I learned my freshman session, my session in the Assembly, and now my freshman session in the Senate it's the work of you have to be able to be willing to do the work, to sit down with people on different sides of the policy issue, because they're cave people. A friend of mine, a man named Brian Whalen, used to say, they're cave people, Angie, citizens against virtually everything. They're cave people. Because you think you come up with the bill, right, with the BDR or something, oh, everyone's going to love this. Nobody's against this. There are citizens against virtually everything. And getting people together and say, how can we get there? Hearing voices on both sides. No, I'm not going to get everything I wanted. It's not going to be a perfect bill. But on the side, when you're in the party that's different than the party in the governor's office, part of that challenge, right, is how do we get something passed that we think the governor's going to sign?
Do you think that creates better law, trying to have some of those dynamics and trying to balance some of that out?
I think I like balance. I like perspective. What it really is, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that who's in this party or that party, although oftentimes it does end up being political. We need to have people that can open up for perspective, because then every voice can be heard. I might not agree with that voice, but that voice needs to be heard. And is there a place that I can get some of this? Because this makes sense. Can I get some of this in? And not take away from what I'm really trying, because this is a problem I'm trying to solve.
Sure.
And that's where policy should come from. It's a problem I'm trying to solve.
So education, I think that's an issue that people have across all socioeconomic spectrums.
Absolutely.
How do we do in terms of moving the ball forward this legislative session in terms of education?
I think we did. I'm going to give you two answers, okay? Like we used to say in the neighborhood, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my neck, right? On the one hand, I thought we did some good things from a supporting teacher standpoint. Teacher salaries, we made those raises from last session permanent, if you will. Allowed charter school teachers to have access to the same raises. I think those things are important. Some safety issues in schools, from school buses to cell phone policy to student data. Some teacher training, teacher recruiting. Those things are really important. The teacher pipeline, really important things. I think we did some good work in those areas. I really do. Where we didn't do a good work, and I certainly understand why, is per pupil funding. We're still well below the national average. Much better than we were before last session, when we were able to really give a huge increase, right? As everyone knows, $1 billion a year in the biennium, but the monies weren't there.
How much does money move the needle, in education? Because when I look at education, I kind of look at education like I look at health.
Okay.
You're not going to have a successful outcome unless there is the effort of that individual, in your mind, in your body,
absolutely,
in your spirit. But hopefully we don't get legislating that anytime soon.
Really better not. No, I agree. I mean, money isn't the answer. It's part of the answer. I mean, we have the single most important thing to help educate students is a certified, qualified teacher in the classroom. It is classroom instruction. That is the single most important thing. I was on the school board, and I think that's one part. The single most important thing is a certified, qualified teacher in the classroom.
How important is it to have parent involvement?
Absolutely. There was when I used to run for school board stuff, right? There are three pieces that are really important: parental engagement, family engagement. Let's say, because families are different now, right? Family engagement, good schools with great teachers, good schools. That's buildings, facilities matter. Good schools with great teachers, family engagement, and community support. That's, to me, those are the three legs. Those are the three prongs. Because the parent engagement piece, that helps to drive the student effort. Because if other homes are like my homes, my mom encouraged me to be excited about school. If you know what I mean. I always loved school anyway. But that's where the family engagement really does come from. And you need the support of the community, because there are things whether you need to build a school, support a project, right? An activity.
Make sure it's safe.
Make sure it's safe, and make sure that the community's voice is also involved and present, because that's important. Talk about different perspectives. I mean, all of that needs to show up somehow, some way, right? In that. So you want your community involved in that. And then again, back to good schools with great teachers. All three of those. And some of those you can't build without the resources. We can't have good schools, right, with great teachers unless we have the teachers. We can't have the teachers unless we can pay the teachers and keep the teachers, right? And all the things that go along with that. Because what that allows you to do is to reduce your class sizes. We have some of the largest class sizes in the country.
What's the average class size in Nevada?
Oh, geez, I don't know it off the top of my head, so I don't want to make it up, but I know we have, and it also depends on if it's elementary school, middle school, or high school, right? Very different. And you do have to take the average because like in one elementary school, you might want like 15, 16 kids in an elementary school, right? And per classroom. Because they're smaller, you need that, right? But that doesn't mean one classroom might not have 23 kids, because kids don't come in nice little packages of 16.
No, that's true. Hey, I get my wife's a teacher. I get that all the time.
Right? Exactly, right? They don't come in nice, neat little packages, right? So you do have some of that, but they're too large. That is huge for supporting teachers. Part of how do you keep great teachers in good schools, right? It's huge for academic achievement, for student attention, but you can't reduce your class sizes efficiently unless you have the teachers to teach them and the classrooms to put them in.
All right, we are here with Senator Angie Taylor on Nevada Newsmakers, and we're going to continue our conversation right after this.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. Our community is our foundation. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Paul Enos, and we're finishing our conversation with Senator Angie Taylor up here in Washoe County. So, Senator, now serving 2 sessions, one in the, each in different houses.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference besides, have to run for re-election, every year as an assembly member?
Which I'm grateful for. Size is a big piece of it. Because the Senate is smaller, then you develop better relationships with each other, even whether in your party or not, because there are fewer of you. So you do more work, right? As a chair or as the majority party, I guess in that case, but also because you're smaller, you develop relationships. So we were able in the assembly side. I felt like we did a pretty good job. I like working with people, so did a pretty good job of working with each other, but you almost have to in a way in the Senate side because you want to be collegial. I mean, 85 to 90% of the things that go across the board, that are bipartisan in most cases. And so you have some of that. You develop better relationships, and I think that's a piece. That's also a good way to get good policy across the board.
Is there any relationships that surprised you that were better than you thought they'd be?
Actually, and the one I will say is this: because of size, you have much more interaction and accessibility to leadership. Because there's so fewer of you. I mean, when I was in the assembly, there were 28 of us. You know, I mean, Jaeger is wonderful. Don't get me wrong. I think the world of him. I really, really do. But can you imagine him having to manage all of that? You don't have as much of a time to develop. Again, I think the world of Jaeger. I really do. And I thought he managed it well. But it isn't as functional, right? It isn't as efficient to be able to do that. Isn't reasonable. So you get to do that more with leadership. So you get to see decision making a little bit closer. Because it's a smaller group, you do more in caucus, as opposed to you have a leadership group, and then it kind of trickles down to you, right? So so that surprised me.
So do you feel like you have more of a voice in the Senate, having it smaller than maybe you do, in a bigger body?
Yeah, you have more. To me, you have more of a voice because it's easier to get your voice heard.
Yeah, that's always a challenge.
Yep.
So, in terms of what passed, the bills that you got through, what are the pieces that you were proudest of this last session?
Oh man, I did some education stuff because I'm an educator. I'm always going to do that. But the things there are two bills that I'm really most proud of. One of them is the bill that allowed disabled children, chronically ill children who are on Medicaid. Now, Medicaid allows them to have a caregiver and pays for it, but if you're below the age of 18, that caregiver could not be a family member.
Okay.
So if you're a parent, right, and I met many, many families, I had no idea how large of a problem this was, and you have a child that's born disabled or something happens or whatever, and you want to stay home with that child, right? You can't get paid. So I talked to a couple of families, they lost their home. Because one of the parents stayed home because I want to be there with my child, take my child to school and so on. That is, now it isn't instant, unfortunately, because then you have to submit a waiver to Medicaid at the federal level, and so it's probably going to take a year or so before it actually kicks in.
But there's a solution to the problem.
I am most proud of that because that is going to really help families all across the state. The second thing I'm most proud of, I would say, is something called the PACE program. It's a all-inclusive, one-stop shop, if you will, care for seniors, and especially low-income seniors. They can get housed, they can get counseling. You can get some help at home if that's what you need. Medical care, behavioral health, all in one program that's exercise. It's called the PACE program.
All right. Well, Senator, that's where we have to leave it. Thank you so much for coming on, and we're going to be right back on Nevada Newsmakers.
It's a good time to eat. It's a good time to play.
It's a good time to win.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
If you missed any of today's shows or want to see shows from the past 2 decades, you can go to NevadaNewsmakers.com and follow us on X at NV Newsmakers. Thanks for watching and listening.